The only ones cranking up the air conditioning. There is extreme heat happening right now across a big chunk of the globe. And get this, yesterday actually marked the unofficial hottest day ever on record when you look at the entire planet. The University of Maine's Climate Reanalyzer says that the planet's average daily temperature was let me redo that, was 17.18 degrees Celsius or 62.6 degrees Fahrenheit. I almost said 100, Maria. Just the day before that, on Monday, we actually hit 17 degrees Celsius flat for the first time in 44 years. It's expected that this new record, though, won't last long. This summer is going to be a hot one due to the combination of climate change and El Niño setting in. Joining us live right now is Dr. Andrew Pershing, Vice President for Science with the nonprofit group Climate Central. We appreciate you taking some time for us, sir. Thank goodness I had the number wrong there when I first started, and the average temperature wasn't 100 across the globe. But we do have this new record. Help us understand what that means and why you believe this is actually part of a trend that we're seeing and just not some anomaly that here we are in July and no joke, it's hot.
Sure. So what the University of Maine did was they took data from around the globe that mixes both observations and computer models. And so it's really our first look at what the temperature on the globe for yesterday and even today is. And so it gives us a really good sense for where the planet is and allows them to say that this is the hottest day that they've seen in that record. But then you look back, right, and we can go way back using ice cores and say this is probably the hottest day ever that we've experienced back to about 125,000 years ago. And to put that in perspective, 125,000 years ago, every human being lived in Africa, and we were just about ready to start making our way into Europe to start to duke it out with the Neanderthals.
Yeah, that's some perspective, right? Looking specifically at Buffalo, I know your organization keeps track of how many sort of hot days we have in a year, and you define that as being above 85 degrees. I'm showing our viewers right now the chart. Obviously, it fluctuates year by year, but when you kind of average this out with the trend line there, the average has gone from around 15 days per year above 85 degrees, back in 1970 to now 23 of those days every year, an increase of 8 days over that time period. And you're seeing that in city after city, right? It's not like Buffalo is unique in terms of seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Every place has their own story, but this pattern, we see it all over the country and we see it all over the world. And this is just very much part of climate change, right? We expect that places year after year are going to trend warmer. Doesn't mean that every year or every day is going to be warmer, but overall we expect to encounter more and more conditions that are going to be uncomfortable, that are going to be sticky, that are going to be new and challenge us in new ways.
We know that summer gets hot, right? And you can't always attribute a single hot day to climate change, but you do have this climate shift index, which I know tries to really quantify when climate change is behind what we're feeling and when it's just maybe normal summer heat. How does that work and what is that showing you?
Yeah, so the Climate Shift Index is a tool that we developed that allows us to compare today's temperatures and how likely they are in our current world with about 1.3 degrees Celsius of global warming with a world that if it didn't have global warming. And then we look at the change in the likelihood or the frequency of those temperatures. And so what we're able to do is say that the temperatures that you were talking about in your forecast for today and for tomorrow in Buffalo are unlikely. They are temperatures that are consistent with climate change. They're 1.5 to 2 times more likely because of climate change. So there are conditions that you're going to see more and more of throughout the years as global warming continues.
Dr. Andrew Pershing is Vice President for Science with the nonprofit Climate Central. We really appreciate taking some time for us. I mean, you hear we had the warmest day ever on the globe, and it causes you to pause for a second. So thanks for your analysis.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
You bet.